great pleasure to introduce two people who need no introduction. Paul Saffo and Howard Rheingold, who join me up here. And I have the honor of moderating the first conversation with these two gentlemen. Let me give you a little bit of thought on what I hope we're going to do in this session, which is called Making the Most of Disruption. As the mother of a 5-year-old, I think that's the title of my life. But both Paul Saffo and Howard Rheingold have an enormous amount of experience and insight into both the fast-moving and slow-moving effects of ideas, technology, human behavior, business models, social change, and all of the things that may make Compumentor or PolicyLink feel schizophrenic, but that ultimately, I hope, go into this idea of the Net Squared conference. I want to ask Howard to get us started, and then I'm going to turn things over to Paul. But Howard, you have written quite a bit about the effect of technologies on human behavior, on social change. You're teaching a class where you're trying out all kinds of new technologies right there in the classroom. And Angela Blackwell just shared with us this story, the very important story of the covenant with Black America, and the way that the ideas in that book have moved through and across American society at a really rapid rate. But that's a book. And it moved through church groups, and it moved through coffee conversations. What does that kind of idea generation and idea movement have to do with technology?
Well, to a certain degree, it's politically, ideologically neutral, except for the fact that it favors widespread participation. It doesn't particularly give more power to elites. They already have the power, but I think the combination of networks, emergent self-organization, and cooperative strategies have given all kinds of ideas, good ideas and bad ideas, a way of moving very, very rapidly, laterally and up and down throughout the world.
Well, one of the things that come around the corner, but also see that both of you put that in an important historical context, which I often think of the two of you as kind of real-time anthropologists. What are your thoughts, and I know you've got some slides to share with us, but about this relationship between ideas and the changing technologies and then Web 2.0 stuff?
We invent our technologies, and then we turn around and we use our technologies to reinvent ourselves as individuals, as communities, and ultimately as entire cultures. And that is exactly what's afoot today. And it happens to be a period where the water is moving particularly fast, so this is a perfect time for us to do it.
Both of you have had on industries such as journalism, community action. What's next? What's changing next? What are the big areas of likely disruption?
You know, I made a list about 5 minutes ago just to try to look across names that I think we all recognize for phenomena that have happened recently. And I think that they are all connected to this combination of technology and ways of acting that people have discovered. Certainly, we don't need to speak very much about the emergence of the blogosphere and its somewhat unpredictable disruptive influence politically. The Katrina response was mentioned. Zach Rosen has a great story about how people put together the Katrina People Finder site. The immigration demonstrations, what was very interesting to me about that were the youth demonstrations in Los Angeles that were organized through MySpace. I'm quite certain that zero of the people who put up MySpace pages were thinking, I am going to do this as a political organizer. A good example of the medium is there for a social network, but becomes a conduit for collective action. Open source, Benkler's new book really takes open source commons-based peer production beyond producing software and suggests that there are a lot of things that are being produced and will be produced for non-market reasons that mix with for-profit, for-market motivations. Wikipedia, the way both the Omidyar network and Scroll Edge are trying to reinvent philanthropy, all around the SARS epidemic, from the way 150 million SMS messages in 3 days kept the Chinese government from keeping a lid on it, to the way scientists and epidemiologists around the world really instantly self-organized a response to that. There's a story that if we have time to tell when I talk about networks, with Toyota building networks laterally among its suppliers and internally among its employees came to its aid when a factory burned down and was able to reconfigure astonishingly quickly. And of course, we have some distance from the 2004 presidential election. I think what happened there, the fact that the Dean campaign sputtered, does not mean that the forces that were cut loose there are going to go away. I think we're going to see it really come of age in the next one. So what we've talked about, a lot of different areas here I've touched upon. I think all of these are coming from the same source. And I think we're really in the earliest days of the kinds of changes that the combination of technologies, literacies around their use, and the awakening of different groups that they can use this technology matrix that was built up for other purposes, for their purposes.
Paul, what are the transitioning and moving these ideas?
I recommend you take the word information and IT out of your vocabulary. The information revolution is moving into a very different phase. The information revolution isn't over, but information is working in other areas. This is about media, and this is a moment where 2 decades of information revolution and email and all of that is morphing into a new kind of media. And you need to think about this as media. More specifically, this parallels a moment just over 50 years ago when the advent of television in society triggered an explosion, the maturation of mass media. This time it's personal media. And it is profoundly different than mass media, and it's profoundly different than IT and information, and even what happened in the 90s. Mass media was, television was wonderful because it delivered the world to our living rooms. But all we can do is press our nose against the glass and watch. Personal media offers a two-way trip. You get to answer back. In fact, you're required to answer back on so many things, whether it's an M or MySpace or wherever. So if you don't answer back, you don't have the experience. This is a huge, profound shift. Now, the dark side for all of you working for the forces of good is that the big companies have figured this out. This is a much tougher time to play with this technology than when, back, Lord knows, Howard, I'm an associate prof at Stanford. I discovered the students refer to people my age as wrinklies. So for us wrinklies, we can remember in the 80s what this all looked like. The fact is that crowds may move fast, but the establishment may move faster. And fast, unpredictable result. Think about, MySpace organizing the marches in Los Angeles and elsewhere. Well done, folks. Didn't seem to have an impact on the bills coming out of Congress. In fact, looks like it just ticked off a whole bunch of people who were against it. So you have to be very careful. This is potent stuff, and may not lead to the results people want.
Any thoughts there, in Los Angeles, getting back to Angela's comments about policy, is there something about these technologies that might hasten the connection or the positive connections, if you will, between on-the-ground action and policy change? I don't know.
Well, it's happening.